Hey everyone, welcome back to the Overcoming Codependency series here. So we've covered a couple topics here. We've talked about boundaries last video. If you didn't have a chance to see that, I recommend it. You can find it on my page or go to my YouTube channel, Matt Lancettle Fitness. I'm going to be posting all the videos from this series on my YouTube channel as well. So what I want to talk to you guys today about is shedding the caretaker role, okay? So codependents love to take care of other people, and we do this because it is a distraction from ourselves. Okay, so there's a couple reasons why we do this. It's a distraction from ourselves, but it's also we are providing people, we're projecting outward what we want to get back. So we treat people how we want to be treated and not necessarily how they want to be treated. Okay, so it can be a little bit of a selfish way to be offering love to people. So we want to get a good understanding of this and make sure that we can shed this caretaker role so we can start to step into taking care of ourselves and showing up into a relationship as a whole person that is looking to be complemented, not completed by the other. Okay? So the biggest thing about this process is we want to start to take self-responsibility, because there's no healing that can occur without the individual going within and saying, okay, I'm going to take responsibility for the things that I have control over, and I'm going to change those things so I can start to be a functioning partner in a secure relationship, right? So we want to start to shift how we view the other in a way of blaming them, and we want to start to take responsibility for the self. And how we're going to do that is by looking at shedding this caretaker role. So typically the people that I'm speaking to in this video are going to be people that are coming from an anxious attachment style, an insecure attachment style. They have codependent traits. So what we need to do is we need to look at the other, and the people that we're typically attracting in this process is going to be avoidant attachment style people, because they are the people that are mirroring back to us or reflecting back to us what we are not providing ourselves, okay? And we know the universe, this universal intelligence that is always working in our favor, might not feel like it sometimes, it's always working in our favor for our highest evolution. We are all evolving emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically every single day, right? So the universe is colluding on your behalf and bringing people into your relationship experiences that are trying to reflect back to you the work that you have not done within yourself. Okay, so with that being said, one of the most beautiful ways to start to take the blame off of the avoidant person and more onto yourself is by simply looking at the avoidant is actually giving you a gift. Okay, they're reflecting back to you the work that you have yet to do on yourself. Okay, so we need to take that, and instead of pointing fingers and saying you are, making me feel insecure, you are making me feel abandoned, you are making me feel all of these things. It's like, well, okay, at the end of the day, people can incite feelings in you, but it's your responsibility to take care of those feelings, right? So we want to make sure that we are coming from that place of gratitude for the experiences that we've been through that are helping shape us into a more evolved person, so we can begin to show up in a relationship as a secure individual, right? This is our goal. The goal as from the anxious person is we want to get to a place where we feel safe. Okay, we want to get to a place where we feel secure. So we want to start to look at how we can start to shift our anxious attachment style traits and habits into more secure habits. Okay. So with that being said, you're going to notice when you start to do this work, you're not going to be attracting people who haven't evolved from their avoidance into security. You're going to be attracting more of the secure people, and they may be potentially a recovering avoidant, right? Because we're drawn to what we're drawn to, but we want to make sure that somebody that we're attracting into our lives is coming from a place of being able to hold space for us, right? So one of the greatest things that I'm learning on this journey for myself in reclaiming my awesomeness from the grips of codependency is going to be having empathy for the avoidant attachment style. Because at the end of the day, the avoidant and the anxious attachment style are very similar. We have very similar wounds, right? We have wounds of abandonment or rejection, or feeling like we were smothered, or we were, right? So there's a lot of things that can come up for us, but typically it's a fear of loss. It's a fear of abandonment. And what happens is the avoidant expresses their fear of abandonment differently than the anxious. The anxious wants to move in to the relationship, and they want to try and control that they aren't going to get hurt by trying to make the other the person that they need to resolve their fear of abandonment, or to turn the outcome of their previous abandonment experiences into a favorable outcome by recreating it with the other. Okay? Whereas the avoidant is going to want to close down. They're going to want to not even move into the relationship, or they will at first move into the relationship because they still have a need and a desire for connection, but they get scared and they pull back. Okay, so at the end of the day, we're working with the same roots. This is what we need to be mindful of. The expression of those roots are going to be different, but the roots are the same. So when the beautiful thing about empathy is it's an ability to be able to say, okay, I feel where you're at because I have been there. Right? That is such a beautiful gift, because you can, their pain and their disconnection can resonate with your pain and your disconnection. But if we get caught up in the symptoms, the expression of the roots, that's when things become problematic. That's the unconsciousness of the attachment styles that we're working with. So we need to bring those into consciousness, and it starts with us. Okay? So as a codependent person, somebody who struggles with this, and who struggles with anxiety in relationships and anxious attachment style, something that's really come into my energetic field in the last while is going to be this crazy experience. I keep creating these experiences where I abandon myself. This self-abandonment. This has been very prevalent in my life for a lot of years, and it's one of the things that really reinforces this is getting into the helping field and becoming a caretaker. This is why I came up with this topic today, because we need to shed this caretaker role. So in the caretaker role, we are looking for somebody else to meet our needs for us because we aren't able or willing or don't have the right skills to meet these needs for ourselves. So we find it easier to focus on the other and try and get them to meet our needs for us. And sometimes, for me, for example, I had an experience where I didn't get my emotional needs met growing up. So I try and recreate these experiences with men to try and get my emotional needs met this time around. So it's almost like the ego is trying to get the needs met, because it's like, no, don't you worry, I'll get my needs met, I'll make this happen. And you're trying to recreate and prove that at the end of the day, you're trying to prove your worth, because you're saying to somebody, meet my needs, the needs that I can't meet for myself, because I don't feel worthy enough to meet these needs for myself, because I don't value my opinion of myself as much as I value your opinion of me. Okay? This is where we start to hustle for our worth. And this is a really, really shame-based place to operate from. Because when we're hustling for our worth, we're telling the world around us and ourselves that we don't feel worthy as we are, that we have to do, and we have to have somebody else reflect back to us our worth. Okay? This is the fuel of codependency. So once we can start to wrap our head around that, we can start to actually shift this, shed this caretaker role, and start to put all that energy that we're exerting outward. We can start to bring that inward and start to focus on ourselves. Okay? So the whole idea of self-abandonment for me, it's I know I'm abandoning myself when I have a feeling inside, which is that anxiety. I get it in the pit of my tummy. And when I become so fixated on the other, or I become so fixated on my mind, right? I'm wrapped up in my mind and I'm not actually existing in my body, in my intuition, in my truth. The anxiety in my being starts to speak to me through feeling. I start to feel like a knot in my tummy. That my whole life I've been trying to look for the other to soothe that in me. But really what I need to be doing is I actually need to be leaving my mind, which is where all the anxiety is operating, and I need to start to enter into the body, and I need to go into that knot, and I need to actually start to engage with that part of my being, right? The part of my being that isn't feeling like it's getting its needs met. My needs are never going to be met outside of myself if I don't go within myself and meet these needs for myself. Because somebody cannot meet for you what you cannot meet for yourself. It's the bucket with the hole in it experiment. You keep pouring water in the bucket and there's a hole in it. It's leaking out, right? So somebody can be pouring so much water in your bucket and giving you all this love, and you're actually not absorbing it because you don't have the capacity to accept and receive love, because you don't have the capacity to love yourself at this point, right? So that's what we need to do. We need to look at how we can plug the hole in the bucket and start to send love inward and start to fill ourselves up, meet our own needs, and shed this idea that if we care for someone enough, they're going to reflect back to us the love that we need. That, my friends, is not love. That is you sending out something outside of your being to get it back in return. That is not love. That's not healthy relationship. That's not conscious relationship material. That is simply you looking to get your needs met outside of yourself that you should be meeting for yourself. Okay? I hate to use the word should, but it came in handy there. So what we need to learn is we need to learn the skill of holding space. Okay? So holding space for self simply looks like when things come up for us, we get anxious, we get depressive, we get whatever comes up for us in our being, and we self-soothe. We go into our being, we talk gently to ourselves, we nurture ourselves, we engage in an activity that we like, we read a book. We don't have to dive into the other person to try and get our needs met. We don't have to distract ourselves from our own pain by focusing on somebody else's needs, right? That is the codependent behavior, that's the codependent habit, that's the traits that we need to start to disintegrate, okay? When we do this, we learn how to hold space for the other, which is the other component of shedding this caretaker role. We don't need to take care of somebody. We need to hold space for them to be them. That's what the anxious attachment style has a hard time with, because when somebody is being them and meeting their own needs, we don't feel like we are valuable. We don't feel like we bring anything to the table, because what we bring to the table is meeting their needs and making them reliant on us. We've created ourselves into being a drug, and we're trying to create a drug addict out of the other person, saying, need me, need me, need me. But the fragility in all that is people eventually want to become sober. And when we are offering ourselves up as a drug, there will always be the fear inside of us that the person's going to want to become sober from us. And if we're creating us a dependency of us and our energy for them, that's going to become very smothering for them. They're going to become very intoxicated by us, and they're going to want to, it might feel good at first, but it's going to become very, very challenging, and the relationship will not meet either person's needs. Okay? So what we want to learn is we want to learn to be able to give love to the other, and we want to be able to learn to receive love from the other. Okay? So for people that are really visual out there, this is what I've been doing, because this has been really helping me. So what I focus on is, this is where I have been, okay? Both my hands are out and I'm wanting to receive love, okay? What I've realized is when both my hands are out ready to receive love, I'm putting all of my emphasis on the other. So what I've been doing is I've been reclaiming my awesomeness from the grips of codependency by putting one hand on my heart and allowing myself to say, you know what, this hand is always going to remain here. I can be there for you. I can meet your needs. I can hold space for you, but not at the cost of losing myself. Okay? So we have the avoidant, which is more closed off. They're not willing to risk putting their hand out for others. So they have both hands on their heart, protecting themselves. You have the anxious, which is like, come to me, give me all your being. And then we have the secure. Okay, one hand on the heart, one hand open and willing to give and receive the love that is necessary in a loving, secure relationship. Okay, so I want you to do this when you're feeling the anxiety ramp up in your being. I want you to hold yourself, but also hold capacity and space for the other. This is how we start to create balance, right? We start to let that flow, and we don't feel needy, and we don't feel the need to close down. We feel like we have the ability to hold that secure space. Okay? One thing I want to leave you guys with is with faith. Okay? Because faith and trust is going to be so crucial in this process, that there is the right person out there for you. But you need to approach this process with wholeness in your being before you can receive what you're looking for outside of yourself, because otherwise you're going to keep attracting these people that you're using to try and fill a void in your being. And typically these are going to be the avoidant attachment style for anxious, and for the avoidant, it's going to be you're attracting the anxious attachment style, because you're attracting people that are bringing into your experience to try and teach you what you need to work on in yourself. So pay attention to the signs, pay attention to the feelings, pay attention to your intuition and what it's trying to tell you, and don't get wrapped up in the emotion of it all. Allow yourself to just be with yourself and start to notice what arises. This is going to be important. So leave the mind, enter the body as much as you can. And that is going to be my next topic, is going to be learning how to master the mind. So I'm really excited to share that topic with you guys. You know, I do fitness, nutrition, coaching, and I do transformation coaching with addiction, vulnerability, those sorts of things. But one of the things, the thing actually that I know the most about in this life is the mind. Okay, I love psychology. I love exploring the human mind and what its capacity is, and how to master it, how to detach from it, how to not let it be your experience. So that's what we're going to be talking about next video. Okay, sending so much love to you guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.